Movement, not-for-profits gain, teaching kids that self-belief can ease the pain. Every child deserves to face their fears with measured thinking, not just tears. She's planting seeds of strength.
Why? Paulette, what gives? There's something going on. There's something going on with the platforms. Our event earlier, Eric's event, just fell off LinkedIn totally. So literally went live and it just turned itself off. I went to previously live. Really, really annoying. But we need a bit stressed.
Are we on air?
I don't know.
It says we are.
Yeah, we're on air on YouTube. I know that because YouTube just sent me an email. Let me have a look. I'll tell you whether we are. Well, I'm sure we are. Click to join. I've got nowhere near. Yeah, we're meant to on this cafe. Yeah, we're live. We are.
Excellent.
I can hear myself, so there you go. Anyway, yes.
Two Ennies. Who needs two Ennies in their lives, eh?
Wouldn't that be marvelous?
One is perfect. That's all I'll say.
I don't know. Two is twice the fun, right?
Nah. Twice the trouble.
Twice the fun. That's what I'm thinking. Hello, Zara. I said there's lots of people here, but they haven't spoken yet. Please do say hello. We'd love to welcome you properly.
Come and say hello.
Yeah.
I'm so
anyway, so I did a show earlier. I said an Eric show. I see you too, Leanna. I'll put you on the screen in a second, right? And I was most surprised, Paulette, when I sat here, right? And there was like I don't know what it is. There was it's like a grey halo of grey hair, right? And I'm looking, thinking, one, my hair is not that grey. Two, how have I got so much hair? And it was right, it was like a little toupee. But after the show, I went to go and shave my head, and I realized it was dust from sanding I was doing in the morning. So literally, yeah. It looks so freaky, Paula. It looks so weird. Honestly.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Welcome to Annie's quirky world, right?
Oh yeah. It's either mice or sanding heads. Who knows? Eh?
Yeah. Well, listen, lucky it wasn't drained.
Yeah.
How you doing, Sarah? Leanna,
Absolutely.
I see you too. Hello. And I
Hello,
said, there's a lot more people here, but let's speak. So we can say hello.
Let us know you're there, please.
Yes.
Of course. Lovely. Yes, of course.
You're welcome to
always say hi.
Join the studio, right? Join the studio. Come on, talk to us.
Yeah, definitely. This is a really, really it's one of those conversations that I might upset a few people. I might jar a few people. It will not be deliberate, but what I'm trying to do is I've looked in 100 different sources, and everybody says something different because we all think differently, right? So I look across and see my big cuddly teddy bear in Annie, right? And he might want to be a ferocious lion, but he's a big cuddly teddy bear.
That's me.
That's him, right? So I have that vision. Unless you're talking football, then he becomes an absolute beast, and there's no more to be discussed.
Very polite of you, Paulette. I like that.
I thought it was the polite way of putting it. So what I'm trying to say is that, you can have a different perspective, and that's perfectly okay. And I am the first person, and any should hopefully back me up on this, to say my mind is completely open. I am extremely tolerant of everybody's perspective, everybody's point of view, everybody's everything, because I think that everybody's entitled to have their own opinion. So what I'm going to give you is the book opinion, my stance on what I've read. And then I want people to really come or get engaged in the comments about what you think. But there is some real jarring moments, which I'm treading, where you might all start disliking me intensely. But I'm going to go ahead with it because somebody's got to be ballsy enough to do it, and today's my day for being ballsy. So I'm ballsy with funny arms, so what can I tell you? Okay, right, so I'm going to start. So everybody knows us, we don't need to introduce ourselves, do we?
No, we can welcome them, right? Coach Ashley, how are you doing? So we
Yay,
haven't seen
always.
you for a
Hi,
while.
no,
So in transit, we're listening and
thank
chatting
you,
appropriately. As always, my friend, great to
thank
see
you.
you. Professor Roxana is here
Yay,
as well. Hello, happy Monday to you. Normally,
absolutely.
well, you're here.
Hi.
Sheila, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Zara says it has a lot to do. It has a lot to do with society, economics, and psychology. Yeah, so it's all of that, right? Well, either way, it's messed up. That's a problem. Something's gone wrong somewhere, or it's going wrong, should I say? Dr. Lisa,
Hey, Lisa, hi, gorgeous.
yes, I didn't say that. Paulette said that, right? Oh, I'm still
Here we
here.
go.
I'm still
Here we
here.
go. Here we go. See, this is what I'm
Who
going to
else? Who else is
contend
there?
with. All right,
So,
I'm going to
Lynn,
start. Get ready.
Linda's
Oh,
here as
good. Well,
well.
stop for Linda. Hi, Linda.
Okay, there you go.
Right,
All
I'll
right,
start
let's
with
let's
it, and
let's
then
let's go.
we'll
Let's go. Let's
go.
go.
Right.
Let's go.
Okay. So the key thing here, as I said, is I don't want to offend. I'm not trying to. This isn't Paulette Hallam's views. This is many different societal publications that I've read. It's the view of all of those, and I've combined them to make some sort of sense. Okay, so masculinity is not fixed. So that's the first thing to know. It shifts throughout society, which is no surprise to us. However, over the last 40 to 70 years, there's been the biggest change ever. So prior to that, Western culture sort of emphasized that the male was the provider, and he ruled because he was the provider. There were emotional restraints because of him being the hunter-gatherer type thing. There was a physical toughness about that authority that came with the threshold, and the term "the head of the house," the head of the household, kind of is biblical as well, but it really does get emphasized sort of up to about 70 years ago. What changed? Well, much changed. But after the Second World War, and women had to go to work in armaments factories and all these other places, they were used to earning money, they were used to supporting their family, they were used to coping. And men came home from the war, those that were lucky enough to, and they found themselves struggling with this kind of new independent woman. And I say it like that because it sort of sounds like I'm being an independent woman, sounds strange, but you can be two independent individuals in a very loving relationship. You don't have to be one's more in charge of the other. I would say that the reason that Charles and I succeed is because we're both Leos, for goodness sake, two lions in the same pen. You'd expect, there to be an issue, but I think we both respect each other enough to respect that sometimes he's right and sometimes I'm right. And even when I'm not right, I think I'm right. So it's a case of understanding somebody else's perspective. And once someone's shown me or taught me or educated me, then I'm willing to listen, if that makes any sense. So I put myself in that to try and understand it. So it's like a kind of, not only do women gain education and careers and independence, I can remember being in a room, just as an aside, and one of my girlfriends saying to me, I don't know what I would like to do to Emily Pankhurst. And I said, what you mean, like shake her hand or something? She said, no, punch her on the nose. And I was like, what, why? And she said, because of her, I'm working 12-hour days in the office. I'm then working 6-hour days at home, and I sleep, if I'm lucky, for 4. And the rest of it is time to do domestic chores. We are now expected to be everything. You know, we are an equal provider. We're equally on the mortgage. We're equally expected to put our percentage of money on the table or in the bank account and look after the children and do the washing and the ironing now there are lots of anomalies to this, so please don't think I'm being harsh, but there are very few times when you read through the societal magazines and the news and the reports, it all talks about the traditional structure of what was and the what is. It's a massive difference, and that changed the structure of our gender role, if you like. So that's gone from becoming the man was this, and now the man is an equal partner to the female. That isn't always well received in religions. That isn't always well received in circumstances, and it is a very difficult, I think, a difficult place to be in terms of understanding that change. So maybe like my father-in-law, who's 85, he doesn't understand that Charles and I don't work, you know, but yet he retired at 60. So he's actually lived 25 years after his last day of work. Isn't that magnificent? And if we could all be in that position, wouldn't it be magnificent? Now, I retired because of my health, also because that coincided with Ben being ill. But would I have gone on for another 5-10 years if I was walking and capable of getting across the station and not having to be met the other end like I had babysitters, one putting me on the train, one taking me off the train? It was awful. I just felt so humiliated. So I think I found that very difficult to then walk into the office and be the boss, you know? And now when I go on a holiday or whatever and I've got a ride-on truck thing that I can get around on, that's given me back my independence. So in a funny way, I understand perhaps this masculinity and change, that transitional change, more than most because of the transitional changes that I've had to make in my life. So I want to try and put perspective on this as well. There is always so again from the general perspective is what once signaled masculinity, which was dominance, stoicism, hierarchy, can now be perceived as controlling, emotionally distant, dismissive of equality, coercive, controlling. Now, just listen to those two words, coercive and controlling. They are two words that are used now in domestic abuse. So just think that that was what was then to where we are now. I want to bring that up in a little while. So part of the tension is simply a cultural update happening faster than social understanding, if that makes sense. That would be my essay. If I were to write the essay, that would be my essay. Why is masculinity sometimes seen as negative? Now, this, I'll give you the historical view first, and it's a historical power structure. So for centuries, men held most political, economic, and social power. The legacy seems to be that masculinity meant equals power, equals responsible jobs, equals managing directors, CEOs, etc. If you look now, many jobs are now changed from being to fire person, not a fireman or fire, how it used to be, fireman. We don't say somebody's an actor or an actress. You would say just actor, because the actor is the generic. So there are things that have changed. You're just an author, you're not an authoress. There's just things like that that have changed that make it sound as if one is bigger or stronger or more important than the other. So certain things are what they're called amplified or amplifications. And an amplification would be Andrew Tate. Right. So some of what he says makes bloody sense, unfortunately. A lot of what he says makes no sense at all. But when you have influencers, and I'm going to use that word a lot, an influencer being somebody who is online, who is in your face, who is giving information, who is telling you something in a certain kind of way, in a certain kind of language, and a certain kind of everything, will deliver a certain kind of outcome. So, for example, he is very much a reward extreme view, right? The more hate he gets, the more reward he gets, because the more reviews he gets, the more people he gets to go and check him out. So he'll say something extreme, people then, oh, who is this bloke then? Let's go check him out. And so it's a sort of a cycle. And his influence is a promotion of a version of masculinity that is centered on dominance, on wealth, on sexual conquest, and on control. These are ideas that spread very quickly online, and they shape young men's perspectives, and they have a perception that that is right or that is normal. And that is something that I really, really do want to talk about to some point, because I'm worried about our young men. At the same time, some online resources say that is toxic, and that is a traditional masculine trait of masculine toxicity. I'm going to say that as well, and I've been practicing that one. That creates a polarization within our society rather than a clarity. Yeah. So instead of us going, okay, we understand what masculinity is, what's actually happening is it's now being polarized as being a negative thing, right? So the misunderstood idea of what toxic masculinity is that real men don't cry. Men don't show emotion. Men must dominate. Men are and must suppress vulnerability. But in everyday conversation, the phrase is often interpreted as masculine itself means toxic, when it doesn't, and it shouldn't. But they become related in a horrible way. The woke society debate. Now, this is another one that I know we're going to get in trouble for, but especially if Ben was here, but fortunately he's back at uni. Gender equality, sensitivity discrimination, greater social accountability. This shift challenges older masculine norms and masculinity that involve dominance and emotional suppression. So in other words, we are combating the bad stuff, which is good, but we don't want this whole, it's not healthy for men to have to hold all that emotional feeling and worry and mental wellness inside, because it breaks you. You're on a self-destruct button, right? But for some men, this can feel like their identity is being criticized because they're not like the masculine Tate chap. You know, I did cry, I do cry, I do show my emotions, I do this, I do that, makes me this. No. So we need to think about the backlash and redefine what that means, because otherwise it becomes part of the let's beat men up, and we shouldn't be doing that either. We need to understand really where we're going with this. So what is healthy masculinity, and what does it look like today? Another great essay title. This is basically what I did, was write essays and then turn it into points. A helpful way to teach masculinity is to focus on core virtues rather than outdated. Healthy masculinity can include things like explain responsibility, but it's a joint responsibility, right? Responsibility for yourself and for your family and for your partner, but your partner has the same responsibility. It's an equal footing until such time as it's not. If the person gives up work to look after the family, or you both work and then you have to find a childcare arrangement where one picks up, one drops off, or whatever you do. But you have to understand that there's got to be movement there. Flexibility is key. So taking care of the family community commitments are everybody's responsibility, not just the masculine. But if we teach it as part of the masculine, then that's the fairest way for me to see that we can change the emphasis on power and strength and hunter-gatherer type thinking. So strength and restraint is really important. So physical and emotional strength used to protect, support, and dominate. Integrity, doing the right thing even when it's difficult. Emotional intelligence, God, I bang on about that enough, don't I? It's like my middle name, Paulette, emotional intelligence, Hallam. But emotional intelligence, being able to express feelings without shame, 100%. You know, if everybody was able to be open and honest about how they're feeling, the world would be a much happier place. It really would. Respect for women, seeing women as equals rather than competitors or subordinates. A useful model is often called pro-social masculinity. That's very much a sociology term, but it means that strength is paired with empathy. And then accountability. So strength, accountability are linked with empathy instead of being power. Taking away the strength of power really is what we're saying. The role of parents and mentors. If you are a father, a coach, a teacher, or any other, an uncle, any other role model that is male, and I will say online personalities, I will talk about influencers. Yeah, you know, monkey see, monkey do. I've always said that, you know, I do. But if you are one of those, what you are showing and depicting is what your kids see and will become. So I think the key thing for me here is to say really good positive role models are people like Keanu Reeves. I mean, my goodness me, you couldn't get a more caring, wonderful human being, I don't think, on the planet. And even more than that, I think it's that he can be the most masculine, and yet actually, you know, he's the guy that took his shoes off, gave his shoes to a homeless man, you know, and he didn't do it because it was being filmed. It just happened to come out by somebody else. He said, "Why are you walking around with no shoes on?" He said, "Oh, there was a guy back there didn't have any shoes, so I just left." He went back to he was on a shoot, and he'd gone for a walk to get a sandwich, and he doesn't like eating in with everyone else, so he went for a walk, and he saw a guy didn't have any shoes, and he came back without any shoes, and then it was in the newspaper, and he was fuming because it wasn't done for any other reason than he just knew it was the right thing to do. So offering and demonstrating strength and humility and respect reshapes the perception of this masculinity thing in a way that we can't actually really do any other way. So I say teach young men masculinity without misinterpretation. Take away this Tate mentality of you know, it's all about being in charge and my house, my rules, my bills, I'm paying the bills, you're lucky to be here kind of thing. How about you look at courage and discipline accountability, compassion, empathy, love, masculine virtues without being oppressive. Normalize emotional literacy. I'm off again, you see. Boys should learn emotional awareness and intelligence and help them to strengthen their resilience rather than it weakening them. I can't bear the idea that young boys are being brought up to be told not to cry and not to show emotions, because if you can't let that pain out, it just goes in and does more damage. I think the teaching respect, these things are not me being some sort of genius. These are things that everybody should be doing, but don't. But teaching respect and partnership, having a healthy masculinity in a way that modern society recognise that women are partners, colleagues, equals. You know, we don't wolf whistle, we don't pinch bums, we don't, you know, act in a way where you make females feel uncomfortable because you know, your face is here but they're talking to your breasts. That's not right. We've moved on from that. The comedy that I grew up watching, I know I found out I'm a boomer, which kind of upset me because I wanted to be Gen Z or one of those Gen things, but I'm not. I'm a boomer, which sounds awful. But anyway, I'm a boomer. But I grew up watching an awful lot of programs that would never be allowed to be shown now on television because they either were racist, they were sexist, they were very male strength dominant roles, or you know, it was women were sexualized. You know, there was an awful lot of stuff that went on that we just laughed at. We thought these things were funny, and then you realize now, 40 years on, 45 years on, oh my gosh, what was I watching? What, I feel like I'm my own experiment, you know. I've been through it all and seen it all and seen the changes in the last 45 years. The changes are unbelievable. Unbelievable. I can remember speaking at a conference in my, what was I then? 26, 27. And I was talking about female equality. So we're talking now going back 36 years, 37 years. And I asked how many people have got females in senior management roles. And I was working for Adecco. I was consulting for them. And everyone put their hand up. Everyone was very proud of themselves, very pleased with themselves. They'd all put their hand up. They'd all got women in senior roles. I said, great. That's fantastic to see. Really, really pleased. I'm going to ask another question. And I'd ask you to leave your hands up, please, if you've got any females on the board of your directors. They all had to take their hands down. There wasn't one company going from SmithKline Beecham, that was Glaxo's, companies, you know, that were real big players, and Barclays Bank, and I can name hundreds of them, but they were all there and they were all made to feel terrible by me. But that was my job. My job was always to antagonize because I was good at it. I didn't antagonize without giving reason. And I said, look, guys, I'm not having a go at anyone here. What I'm saying is, it's good news we've moved forward and we've now got females in senior positions. But when do we get a seat at the table? That's all I'm asking. And it might take another 20 years, and it did. But there you go, generations. So teaching our children about respect is really important, and being a partner and being capable of allowing equal people to contribute. And if one earns more than the other, then fair enough. But, you know, you're putting your percentage in. You know, if you earn 1,000 less than the other person, then you still go, right, well, okay, we need this amount in the pot to survive and this amount. So if you give me this amount and I put this much in, then we make it work. It doesn't have to be 50-50 split. It just has to be fair. Teaching that shouldn't be difficult. Teaching fairness shouldn't be difficult. Challenging harmful narratives is hard. You see, as soon as you start to be critical about misogyny, or you start to be critical about someone like Andrew Tate, who to some is like their person, it creates resentment to you and then to misogyny in itself. And I'm not saying I am against the individual. I don't know him. Do I like what comes out of his mouth? No, not all of it. Some of it's quite on point. Some of it isn't. Some of it is incredibly racist. Some of it is incredibly antisocial and anti-feminine, and creating this men don't cry business. You know, it's just horrid. I don't like that attitude. So for me, trying to create another essay would be my simple framework for modern masculinity. So if I was saying I'm going to write a piece on a simple framework for modern masculinity, how can I narrow this down? I came up with 3 things. Strength, because we've spoken about that an awful lot. Responsibility, because we've spoken about that a lot. And then respect. All of those create strength is physical, emotional, moral. Responsibility, I thought, was caring for others and contributing to society as a whole. And respect was treating everybody with dignity. Everybody with dignity. That framework, when we do not next week, but the week afters, we're going to look at the changes in the world for females and femininity and negative femininity, and the female becoming at times very difficult for men to know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, because we're becoming across as being these aggressive, difficult beings. The same thing's going to come up again. I'm going to say strength, responsibility, and respect. That's what we need to treat each other. If everybody treated male on male, female on female, female on male, everybody treated each other with those 3 things, we would be in a far stronger place in humanity. When these 3 elements present, whether in a masculine role or whether in a female role, it becomes more constructive rather than threatening. Does this conversation even matter? Why am I having it? I guess I'm having it because I'm trying to understand how I help young men not get into trouble, not fall into these traps, not end up where they shouldn't end up, prison or gangs or whatever. And trying to teach that you can be strong without being dominant. You can have confidence without being arrogant. You can be protective without being controlling. You can be independent without emotional isolation. In short, what I'm really saying is masculinity today is best understood not as power over others, but as responsibility, character, and constructive strength. I'll say that again. Masculinity is best understood today not as power over others, but as responsibility, character, and constructive strength. Do I believe there are mistakes? Oh, of course I do. Absolutely I do. I think there are 5 major mistakes, and I could have had 55. So let's go with the 5 that I'm choosing. The 5 biggest mistakes, I think, are trying to address male or masculinity, the mistakes are often unintentional. It comes from more deeper confusion and an unwillingness to resolve, right? So I'm going to run through them quickly, then we're going to see who's here, and we'll have a chat with Annie and see if he agrees with anything I've said. Some things will be great, but we don't discuss this before, because it's good that I do my homework and then I come to the floor and see what we all believe. So let's say the biggest mistake is criticizing masculinity without offering a clear alternative. Just saying, oh, Andrew Tate's wrong, what does he know, blah, 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 is no good. What we need to do is say, look, without being aggressive and without being dominant and without being emotionally closed, what should a good man be instead? And with a little bit of guidance, we can talk about positive masculine identity without that direction of trying to be everything he says is rubbish, everything. You've got to be able to say, look, there is the opportunity to have positive masculine identity. And in simplistic terms, it would mean trying to remodel the wording. But basically, we're talking about not being emotionally closed off, being respectful, and being kind. Actually, are amazing qualities to have. How do we offer that up against we're this, we're that, we're the other? It's very difficult. It's like me going to battle with words and they've got a gun. I mean, I probably could talk them down. They'd get so bored of me, they'd give up and walk away. But what I mean is, if I'm on a bike and they're in a Hummer, a big old vehicle, I ain't got a chance, right? So we can't fight somebody like Tate with words unless the words are sincere and have meaning and have real purpose. And we can give the kids and these young adults a chance. So give them that guidance of, positive masculine identity, being everything that I just said. Conflicting masculinity with toxic masculinity. So people say they're the same thing and they're not. And I think that it's a very difficult and harmful thing that we do when we do say it's the same thing, because this expectation of then using that word masculinity, good, bad, or indifferent, is automatically aimed at those that are thinking of the Andrew Tates of this world. So it's about trying to stop that automatically masculinity, toxic masculinity, bang, that's where we're headed. What we need to do is wind it back to masculinity means this. Some men feel unfairly accused simply for expressing traditional traits like competitiveness or strength. Others react defensively and gravitate towards influencers, as stated, who frame masculinity as being under attack, if you will. That's what Andrew Tate says. Masculinity is under attack by the feminine crowd. Used to be called the Burn the Bra girls, I think the nuances get lost in discussion sometimes, and it can be polarizing, but I think it's really important that we think about that one. Removing male role models, it's hard to say. Removing male role models without replacing them. There's enough R's and M's there to cause a problem. Removing male role models without replacing them. Now, what I was trying to say here is we need men to be men and to be good fathers and to be good coaches and to be good community leaders and religious leaders and teachers and all the places where kids look up to and gradually start to look at that person and say, I want to be like them. That's kind of how I want to be. That Mr. What's It, I'd love to be like him when I grow up. I think that would be quite an amazing thing to have. Many families are one-parent families, many absent fathers, but that doesn't mean there aren't male role models around. I object to people saying that there were no role models when there are always role models, right? Whether it's, like I said, one of those, or even it's an uncle, or it's a relative, or it's a granddad. Doesn't always have to be the dad, okay? But if it is the dad, great. If the dad isn't present all the time, when he is present, he is those things. When he does do his monthly or bi-weekly or whenever it is he sees the kids, he is those things. I think family structures have broken down very greatly in the last 70 years. So that's one of the reasons that you can definitely see a change. But I think any kind of positive figure, like I said, Keanu Reeves or one of these type of celebrities out there doing, just being human, just having humanity as his shining North Star. That's where he goes. That's where he's headed. He's just, that's him. He's not trying to be anything else. That's just the man. Ignoring the developmental needs of boys is massive. If we don't accept that there are major changes, I've got many, many books on how boys change and at what year they change. Every 7 years, there's a massive, huge testosterone delivered to their doorstep, which they don't know what to do with. They don't know what to do with it at 7, and they certainly don't know what to do with it at 14. Now, it can happen at 5 and 6. It can happen at 12 and 13. The same as girls' menstrual cycle is all different times. But boys get this hit of testosterone, and they're looking to know what to do with this, right? The physical changes, the physical challenges, You see a very attractive woman, you have a biological reaction. We know what I'm talking about. I won't go into it because I don't want to get stopped from speaking on air. But that biological reaction is completely normal. And to normalize it and say, look, that happens, and you'll learn as you get older to control it. Okay? It's not anything unnatural. It's a sexual reaction to something, but you need to control it. And then deal with it if you still need to later. The competitiveness. I don't know that I agree that you need to remove competitiveness. I don't believe that there shouldn't be races and everybody wins the race and nobody loses. You're talking to Mrs. Competitive here. Come on, guys. I'm never going to agree with that one. When I could run, I wanted to win the bloody mum's race, I had no hope because I was never a fast runner, but I gave it my all, right? And if I thought putting my boobs out a bit quicker might just get across the line, I'd use that as that's what I would be prepared to do to try and win the race, right? The point is we all were doing it and we all wanted to win the race for our kids, and our kids were screaming us on, and it didn't actually matter who won. It was the fact that children were jumping up and down and screaming for us. That's all that mattered. But it's fun. That's the difference, right? Understanding those physical challenges that they have, and then add competition involved in that, then add sexual awareness into that. Give them clear expectations, and that can be dealt with. Every single thing I've mentioned can be dealt with. But if they don't know what they can talk about, what they don't talk about, is it allowed to be talked? Am I even allowed to say that this is happening? Give them purpose and responsibility. When these needs are dismissed or outdated or problematic, or pick the carpet up and put them underneath, you then have this confusion. What do I do with all this testosterone? What do I do with all this emotion that's building in me? It's like a tornado that started and I don't know how to stop it. And it can show itself in anger, and people punch walls, and people can have fights and do things that they wouldn't normally do. But it's really down to hormones and not understanding what to do with them. Give them sports. Sports is one of the best things to get rid of that testosterone. You know, it helps take a lot of that out of their bodies, and then they become able to function because they're burning it off, and they're replacing it with dopamine and cortisol and the positive feelings, the good feelings that we want them to have, and that huge testosterone rush that is so dangerous and can be dangerous if not controlled and managed. Show them leadership, give them opportunities, mentorship. If you don't feel that you can mentor them, then put people in their lives that can. Get them to offer service to others. I really believe in this. You know, whether it's singing in a concert for the old people's home, going around doing carols, whether it was working at the local shop, not for payment, just for hours for his gold DV, you know, whatever it was, cleaning the toilets. He hated cleaning the toilets, but he had to clean the toilets. It was part of his job every single weekend. And that's what he did because he was earning his points for his gold DV. It's only a small farm shop with a little cafe, but he would have to wash up for hours. But that's what you do. You show them service to others, and it gives them a sense of empowerment. It's kindness. The goal is not to suppress masculine traits. Oh no. It's to guide them towards positive outcomes. Framing gender Okay, I'm going to go again. Another essay title, I thought. Framing gender conservations as a competition is not good. Conversations about gender should never be competitive, and let's not make it such. I'm not here in competition with Andrew Tate, although I think it would be quite fun. It's about discussion. We advance by discussion. We advance with discussion with the other gender, with females, women. We must have them come at the expense of men to the table with their views and have the conversation. Not to put anybody down, but as equals. You both have an opinion. There must be a middle ground. Movement that increases opportunities for women, especially during periods like the second wave of feminism. They were very important steps. However, in order to get to equality, appeared like we were stamping on men. It does, and it did. You go back and you read the history books, you'll believe what I'm saying. Young men may misinterpret that, and they may see it as a gender struggle, a gender war, when actually it was a gender climb for women to try and be as equal as, not better than. In reality, healthy masculinity and women's empowerment, they are not opposing in any way. They shouldn't be, and they aren't. Healthy masculinity and women's empowerment are actually on the same level. if you really think about it. They reinforce each other when built on mutual respect and partnership and emotional intelligence. Paula, Emotional Intelligence Hallam. Finally, a more constructive way forward. And this is my final comments. Any, you'll be glad to hear, but I just want to say this. If we want young men to understand masculinity clearly, the focus should shift from criticism to formation. From criticism to formation. Formation of ideas. Masculinity can be a really easy topic to teach and taught through core virtues and values like strength, physical, emotional, and moral, responsibility, caring for family, community commitments, integrity, honesty, and accountability, respect, treating women and others as equals, purpose, contributing meaningfully to society. Being open to your emotions. I like that one. Being open to your emotions doesn't stop you being masculine. Actually, it's a sign of intelligence. These qualities preserve the positive aspects of all masculinity while removing the harmful elements that are associated with dominance or entitlement. I rest my case, Your Honour. Mr. Osung, please come back. He's probably fallen asleep. Annie.
Your internet's breaking up, or is it mine? Something funny. Is it mine?
Good here. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, right. I tell you what, there's lots of people here. Lots of people.
Oh, excellent.
So, I'll let you fight. I'll let you fight with them. I'm gonna get me a drink. You got Cyrus, Tobilova, got Zara, you got CJ as well. And Christina was here. I'm sure there's another one. Right. Okay. A couple of comments, I suppose. I'll use that. There's a few people to work on first of all. Adjuzi, is that how you pronounce your name? Hopefully it is. Bob, I see you too. Welcome. I don't know what paired means. Is that you pressing stop, Paulette?
I don't know.
Welcome, Mike. Mike says, in his tradition, they call that man, such a man, a mensch. What's that? I don't know.
Mensch.
It's an American thing. Jay's here as well. Of course, if you want to join the studio to share, not that you got that long, really, but the link is there, right?
Sorry, I had a lot to share. I do apologize.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I dare not stop you, otherwise I'll be accused of being a man, a pig. Yeah, that one. So
you got the double eye roll then, Ellie. The double eye roll.
Yeah. Michael, I see you. I know you got a comment further down. Sharon Rose, welcome. She says coercive control is dangerous. Yes,
absolutely.
But men don't naturally have coercive control, do they? Right. Because they don't know the perfect love of God, I guess.
Yeah, that's one argument.
Yeah, no, I say Gisette as well. I see you. How you doing?
Hey.
Gisette, it's on Jackie's show. Is it tonight? Yeah, I think it's tonight. So if you want to go and find out who Gisette is, do log in. She has a whole show to herself. Normally it's two people, but Gisette has a whole show to herself. So it must be good. I should be there. I'm meeting her in a couple of days, so I do want to know who Gisette is. Let me see what I can glean. Barbara, I see you as well, superstar Barbara. How are you, Barbara? You haven't replied to my DMs. Anyway, yes, Barbara's working on her book as we speak, so I'm excited. Yeah, right. What do I want to say? Right, okay. So Bob says, staying neutral with control is key to being a man, I think. That's what Bob's saying. Michael says, definition of positive masculinity, isn't it different in nearly every society? Due to cultural differences and cultural and social expectations in those societies. I think you're trying to define the Western world definition of a man. Yay. It's true, I think. But is that really the case? Well, basically, in some societies, you still get away with being, having 6 wives, for example. That's illegal in the UK, by the way. It's illegal. Yeah, polygamy is not really allowed. Coach Ashif says masculine and feminine, they're meant to balance each other out. Yeah, potentially. Of course they would, but no, I think there's a need for both. Because as good as similar as they are, they're very different. As similar as a balance might look, there's a point to having men and a point to having women. The point to having a masculine side and a feminine side, right? So Calm says, so building a man in industrial age is different from building a man in a pre-industrial age. True. Do men love to talk about emotional intelligence as much as women do? Well, they do. I think they do, right? Because that's got to happen so that boys can see that and practice it more often. See, here's the problem. The way I see it, Paulette. There are too many women who hate men. Let's face the truth. There's too many women who hate men for all sorts of reasons. Maybe some of it is trauma of the childhood or the past relationships. But they're just men haters out there, and no man is good. It will be good enough. That's why I put in the question: when he's been a man, when he's been a man enough, good enough, right? They just hate that, and they're the ones who get offended by whatever you say. They're waiting. They're just dying to get offended by something you say that they can't agree with. And it's all of that. See, we've got sons, Paul. That's what we're talking about this today, right? My son's 17. And he just doesn't. It doesn't bother at all. He's quite happy with himself and and his family. He doesn't give women time at all, right? That's a creation of our society. Because if he says it's wrong, if he says anything wrong, is damned. If he says anything that he really thinks is damned anyway. That's the world we live in. I don't know how you change that. No, men. I was in a room the other day, and Christiana. She means well. Of course, she means well. She's a decent person, right? She said, right, almost like breaking news. She didn't do all this, but she was like, research shows men have emotions too. I'm like, research shows? Don't joke, Paulette. You would have thought everyone knows men have emotions. But apparently, people don't think men have emotions. Where did that come from? Right. These are the real underlying undertone of the conversation today. Let me stop talking. Now, let's talk to Topiloba, then we can work our way around, right? So, Topiloba, go. Be brave. Be brave, my friend. Be brave.
This conversation, it's something that I feel every lady should listen to, and then should listen to opinion. Just like what you said, a lot of women, they think that they are the only one that feel emotion, that they feel like they're the only one that matters. You know, um, ladies really listen to men, and the problem we are facing, even as a young guy, we've come to, I do tell people that even not because I find it in the Bible that it's not good for a man to be alone. I do rather just be alone and don't have anything to do with a woman. Do you understand? And I'm saying this responsibly because we forget that we are humans too. You neglect the fact that this person too can have a feeling, even though we are meant to care for the lady as the way we have been understood. Like masculinity is just misunderstood from my own best experience. So it's help us. We just have to look at it in a deeper meaning rather than the stereotypes. So tell me, a man who should care, how should you behave to him that you want to care for you? How should a man who should take care of the responsibility and everything like that? I know this is we have so many people from different part of the world listening to me right now. Do you get? Listen to me right now. And the way everything is done here is probably different from the way it is done in the UK, the way it is done in the US. But I'm going to speak of being in Nigeria, or how we are being treated by our ladies. A Nigerian man believes that he should provide for his family. He should care. We don't do 50-50 share, or share something, or you should pay the bills of the house. We don't do that. Yeah. We have whenever you take up a wife, you believe that you can take care of the house. Do you understand? You believe that you are capable of taking care of the woman. So you believe that, oh, your man should just be there for you, should be care for you. I believe that this world cannot be perfect without a woman. If it was perfect in the first place, we wouldn't be two gender. Yeah. So we shouldn't be making it difficult, or let me say, ladies shouldn't be making it difficult for men to be able to do or perform their duty excellently. It shouldn't be making it so difficult. We are not equal in no sense. Men are not the same with women. Yeah, I love the idea that did not really say what a man can do, a woman can do better, but that many things a man can do that you can never do. I've seen many women that are busy. Hear me, please.
You're back. You're back. We lost you
Yeah.
for a
Can
second.
you hear me now?
You're back. You're back.
Yes.
Okay. So you believe that we are equal. I do tell my female friends we are not equal. I can singularly empty my bank account, not because I'm in any relationship or romantic relationship with you.
So are we saying, Toby, can you hear me? Yeah. Don't know if you're frozen.
Yeah.
Are you frozen? I think you might be frozen. Yeah. Can you hear me
You're
now?
fine, Paula. I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. So
Can
what
you
I
hear me now?
here you are, great, perfect. So what I would say to you is absolutely we can only give you a Western world scenario. However, if the females are being educated in schools and the males are being educated in schools, and emotional intelligence is taught, and females are getting jobs, and females are starting to work in a role that earns them a salary, then can you see the Western world ideal becoming something that would happen in, for example, Nigeria? Could you hear me, Tobalova?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you
Could you please come again a little bit?
repeat
I
it? Yeah.
couldn't.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I was asking is, if you have a male and a female both being educated in the education system, and they're both being taught emotional intelligence, and they're both being taught partnership strategically, so that everybody understands that if you get into a partnership, you are in a partnership as one, right? You are
Yes.
equals as equals, and that is the education, then you will have a very different outcome. At the moment, you are still living the outcome of you are the man, you have to do it all, it's all on your shoulders. And if you can't give me the life I want, then somehow you're not good enough. That is a horrible place to be. And I can't imagine if I was a man, I would want that. Okay. That's honestly me being truthful. However, if you put out the messages when you are dating people that if I were to date you, I am looking for somebody who can meet me in this place, i.e., a partnership. I am not looking to be the man of the house, to boss you about, to do this, to do that. But likewise, I'm not here to be your skivvy and to be treated in a way that is not acceptable to me. Then that's a relationship that you are looking for. And if that doesn't exist, Tobaloba, then I understand being single, because if I was you, I would choose single rather than the opposite, right? So I actually sympathize with you, because I can see that what you're saying is there's a lot of growing needs to happen in the society of Nigeria, or of Africa, dare I say, where we need to change the intelligence, this emotional intelligence. I go on about it every day, but emotional intelligence is the one thing, if taught, it brings respect. You have respect for each other. You don't then treat each other in a bad way. You don't then treat each other as secondary, or as you are not good enough, it's down to you to do this, this, and this. Yeah. I have blue jobs and pink jobs in my mind. Like, I can't pull the bins out because of my disability. Charles will do the bins, right? But my jobs might be to hoover or run the, do something that I can do in the house to support the house. Yeah. Maybe do some cooking. Whatever it is, you split the jobs in a way where you are a team, right? And I can't physically maybe saw some wood because I don't have the physical strength to do that job. But you could go outside and chop some wood. But while you're chopping wood, I'll bake you a cake, right? That's a team. And that's what we need to get to for not just your country, for every country. Because the only way that it stops this complete and utter craziness that goes on in all societies, right? We are creating ourselves so many issues because this person doesn't accept that, this person doesn't accept this. We've got so many rules and regulations now. You
Uh,
understand?
yes, yes. Let me
Yes,
quickly say something.
go on, top over.
Okay, let me quickly say something. You know that when we meet ourselves, we are coming from different background. Do you understand? We are coming from different philosophy of life, different approach to how we were raised, are two different things. Do you understand me? And I think it's reasonable that we choose ourselves and then trying to learn ourselves. Because when we get to know ourselves, we have to accept it that there is a school that I don't know anything about. When you enter year one, it gets better when you get to year two, year three, before you leave the school, you will understand the person. But I think another problem we are facing, all of us worldwide, people in different part of the world listening to me, UK and different ways listening right now, is that I feel like if you can accept each other as a school which needs to be studied, and don't look at the fact that someone out there is better than you, someone out there is doing something that you could not do for me, is doing better. If you cannot just choose to see someone as a school who needs to be studied, who needs to be corrected, who needs to be, tell like, this is how I want to be loved, this is how I want to be cared for, that you have an open communication, I believe that we could have a better home and even raise better children at the end of the day. Because it is not only supporting ourselves with the task, with all of those things emotionally, not making me to feel that because I have this trait, I have this thing going on with me, makes me a bad person. This in the one of the book I read recently, Psychology of Money, the man says that nobody is crazy. And I reason to it that nobody is actually crazy because we behave based on the environment or the things we're exposed to. That is how we operate from. So I just going to close with this one, that I think if we can accept each and every one of us as a school, which needs to be studied, we will do better. In fact, businesses will do better. Everyone will do better. We will learn to treat ourselves much more better. If we are not entering a relationship with the hope of I want to live, you are living to exist. A lot of people coming to to exit the marriage at the end of the day. You enter to live. But the way if you enter with the fact that I'm here to know this person, to study this person, to know how it works, then we could be able to make something much more better out of life. And if marriage is good, if relationships are good, then the society will become good. Everything will become much more better. Then we can
Yes.
have different lens to
And I
life.
know Annie's going to hurry us on, but I just want to say, now imagine your children. All right. Let's say you had children. Imagine your son coming to you and saying to you, Dad, can we have a conversation like this? Because I'm confused. I think all women want this. I think all women want that. Right. That would mean that you'd moved forward so far. Right. It's taken 70 years for us to come to where we've got in our society. It might take another 70 years, Tobalova, for you in your society to get to where you want to get to. But I think with everybody wanting change, it will happen. Do you accept that?
Absolutely.
That's
That's
Yeah.
that's my final comment. I think
Right.
that's what I believe. Anyway, Annie, I know we
We
need
do,
to
we do,
move
we
on.
do, we do need to move on because Christina
Okay,
and I show I'm doing inviting already, right?
okay, sorry.
Michael said, "Did Paulette mention? Did Paulette say she should bake me a cake? Not if you're a man. You can take the bin out. You ain't getting no cake. Make your own cake. Yeah, no woman's gonna make you a cake, matey. Stop it.
Yeah, words if he's taking the bins out. No, I'm
Oh,
saying they're
I
different.
make me laugh. It's all right.
Blue jobs and pink jobs, Eddie.
Every man knows what I just said and why I said what I said. Right? It's what it is. Make your own cake. That's the problem, Paulette. In equality, fairness, and niceness has gone out the window. It is. Paulette, I hear what you're saying. No, men are saying, especially in Africa, women expect you to do everything, and in return for nothing, that's just weird. That's weird. That's weird.
It's
And
wrong. It's
yeah, it's
wrong.
wrong.
It's
It's more
just
than wrong.
wrong.
Yeah, but it's life that men have to live, and people think it's fine.
It's not fine.
It's not fine. And
No.
let's go to I think Cyrus was next. I know Christina was first right at the beginning, but she fell off, right? So let's go to Cyrus and we'll work over. Now we have to do it quick, my friends. I'm doing invited for my next show already, so I'm not going to be here for too long. Cyrus, how you doing? Talk to us. Cyrus. Perplexity, where are you? You're on mute. Okay, we can't hear you because you're still muted. Please unmute. If you're not gonna unmute, then we'll have to go to Zara. Mrs. Zara, please, the mic is yours. No, we lost Zara as well. Oh, okay. Let's go to CJ until Zara comes back.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm
CJ.
fine. So nice to see everyone today. And, you're going to laugh. Being an American, right? Uh, our idea of men, of course, I say our, let me say mine. My idea of a man, I, I remember one of my parents' favorite movies was The Quiet Man with John Wayne. And I just remember, an Irish uh, boxer, and he grabs Maureen O'Hara halfway through the movie, and he, in the middle of a huge thunderstorm, and he pulls her to him, and he just wraps his arm around her and just kisses her, and I think, you know, a manly man, that's unfortunately, I don't
You're gonna
see
get me
that.
sued. You're gonna get me sued and fined and banished.
John Wayne, the epitome of a manly man, the cowboy, right? who's gonna sweep me off of my feet and ride me off into the sunset on the back of his horse. But it is a shame that our society does not allow for men to be men. Um, you know, I feel like uh, somewhere down the line, um, and this is just my opinion, people, so don't come at me. It's my opinion, but somewhere down the line, and women trying to establish their place in the workforce, and um, even just getting equal rights, and all that is fine and good, but somewhere down the line we've pushed men aside. we've I feel that we've gotten to the point where we don't allow for men to, have their emotions, but yet still be a strong force for us to lean on when we need it. I am the world's worst feminist. I truly am. I really have a difficult time with, I think I was just born in the wrong era. I should have been born, and lived in the maybe the 30s, because to me, what I would not have given to have had my marriage to my boy's dad work out, and me being able to raise my boys in a partnered relationship. And instead, Annie was correct in when he said, there are so many women today that have been hurt, and I think a lot of that comes from childhood. I had wonderful, wonderful role models as men in my life. My grandfather was so handsome. He looked like a movie star, and he was a welder. In fact, he did welding on the naval ships during World War II. And my dad was just, he would give my card, or give my mom cards for no reason at all, send her flowers for no reason at all. I never heard did my parents disagree and have arguments? Sure, but I never saw any hands raised. I never heard screaming or yelling or cussing in my house. And I think that with the opportunity to be raised in an environment that I was raised in, I feel it gave me a different aspect of what masculinity truly is. It is being there for your wife, for your children, for your partner, showing the strength, you know, knowing that you've got your families taken care of, but at the same time being sensitive to their hurts, their wants, their needs. You know, I saw my dad sacrifice for not just his family, but for strangers as well. My dad would give the shirt off of his back to people. Um, so he showed me a softer side of masculinity as well. And I think that that is kind of what is lacking. There has to be an understanding that men are complex creatures that will do anything for us as women, um, if we allow them to. And I think that that's the key right there, is allowing men to be our rock, to be our shelter, to um, then in turn be our helpmate. You know, I'm one that I truly believe in the Bible, and God took created women from Adam's rib. And in doing that, he did not, and I don't know if anybody has heard this before, but it sticks with me so much that when God created women, he did not take the women from the head of Adam so that we would be over him. He did not take us from his feet for us to be under him. He took us from his side for us to walk alongside our men and be their helpmate. And that is truly what we need to be, as not just as marital partners, but in a relationship, whether it be you're engaged or dating, even in working relationships, we have to walk side by side, knowing and understanding that we each have a role, we each have a part, and one is not better than the other. We are there to support each other. And that is what really needs to be understood in all relationships, both men and women, that we work alongside of each other. Thank you so much for bringing this to the stage today, Annie and Paula. It just as a wonderful wonderful topic.
I just got two things to say very quickly, Annie. I know we've got time against us, but I think there are a lot of women with abandonment issues, definitely. And those abandonment issues create an issue with not men hatred, but where did my dad go? My dad left me when I was 4. All men are going to leave me, right? That is a mentality that happens. Broken relationships create the mentality of every relationship will end up being broken, because that's all you know is what you expect. So I just want to put that out there as part of that men hating. I don't think it's men hating. I think it's the scarring rather, the scarring of ourselves as younger people, of what happened to us, then affects how we feel about the future of relationships and men in those relationships. If that makes sense, I'll stop there.
Zara, are you back? Zara, are you back? Or not? No? Not yet.
Yeah,
Christina!
yes, I'm back.
Zara.
Yes,
Am
Okay,
I
Zara's
audible?
there.
it's all right.
Yeah, we can hear you, so it's fine. You're back to mute again.
Hi, Sarah, speak to me. Sarah.
Christina, go and then okay,
Oh,
because we have like
typical
less
me.
time.
They think you're being rude for that, but I know you're being genuine. It's fine.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, I was being facetious. The word is facetious, Eddie.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Ulterior motives, we call it.
Hopefully,
I
everybody
hear
you'll forgive me for that, right? I couldn't resist. The wink. Did you get the wink as well? Who
gentleman.
got the wink?
Let the gentleman want to.
Go on, Christina. Go on, Christina.
I go.
Tell us.
Okay. If this was a contrarian post, I would be the contrarian post. So let me say before this gets completely misunderstood that I have many great men friends that I get along with, that I have fantastic conversations and collaborations with, and that I do respect. However, I think that we all have masculinity and femininity uh, inside of us. I identify as non binary, not necessarily from a sexual point of view, but just the way I am, the way I think, and the way I see myself. I don't believe necessarily that our childhood has a role in shaping us, but not 100%. I get along with my father just fine. Uh, I had a strong, probably my strongest male model was my grandmother, just because she was a very strong woman that took care of the family and everything else. So if you're thinking about somebody that takes care of their own family, working, making sure that they're fed, making sure that they're understood and all that, I think of her because she actually embodied both roles, and I like seeing that growing up. In today's society, I think that if you define yourself as a feminist, is an extreme, and also misogyny is another extreme. That's why I just like this middle way. And of course, when you're young, when I was young, I defined myself a feminist. I read all the great feminist books and all that. History, the right to vote, and all of that. I was very much into it when I was in my 20s. But growing up, I enjoyed building relationships with all genders. And what I enjoyed the most about all of it is that I understood that both things can live in a person. A man can be nurturing, a woman can be nurturing. A woman can be really masculine, and the patriarchal model can live in a woman at the extreme level, while she doesn't even realize that is happening. Although I'm a very spiritual person, sorry, CJ, I've always refused to believe that I came out of a rib, but I understand other things. So just that, I don't want to necessarily interact with somebody immediately thinking you're male, you're female, so you must be this way or you must be that way. And although that's how I thought it should have been, going to university and being exposed to different environments, now that I'm older, almost 50, I choose to believe that there is both in everybody. Now, when it comes to cultures and how things work in different cultures, that's another story. And I technically was raised in a place that's pretty patriarchal. Like, I was born and raised in Sicily. So technically, I should have gone the route of all my other friends, wanting the prince and all that, thinking that that's okay. I just have to find a good man with a good job, lawyer or doctor, and I'm set. I should have thought that way. I mean, all my friends, all people that I grew up with, that's what they went for, at least, right? But I think as we study ourselves as people, as we think and have thoughts, we choose our own path, and we can choose to be who we want. So you can be born anywhere in the world, but at some point, you have a choice, and at some point, you see other things around you, and you make those choices. To equally getting along with both genders, to equally find things that I really love in men and things that I really love in women. That's my preference. Otherwise, I wouldn't be collaborating with my greatest male friend, Annie. So
I think
definitely there's respect there.
absolutely. I think that if we didn't all have male and female in us, and the femininity and the masculinity in us, we wouldn't be human. And it's just not allowing one person to oppress us, and us not to oppress somebody else. And if you can get to that place, then to me that's what I call equality. Equality is just respecting everybody for who they are, meeting them where they are, and not trying to change them, not trying to have expectations of them, but also not trying to. And I will take my hat off to you, Tobolo, but I would love to chat, by the way. But the key I will say is this: we all have to understand we're in a different place at a different time, right? 70 years ago, we were watching some television that nowadays can't even go on telly, right? They literally had to put all the reels in the bin because it's not acceptable now to say the things that were said. So we've moved on in 70 years. Where will we be in the next 70? I hope that this conversation would never take place. I would like to think that we can all love who we want to love, be who we want to be, and everybody respect everybody in the same way. That's my hope. Whether it will happen or not, I don't know. I listen to my son. He's at university, he's 22. He is definitely of that page. Everybody is equal. And he'd buy something to eat. And if somebody said to him, could you lend me £1 so I can buy something because I don't have quite enough money, he would buy them whatever it is they need. And he would go short the next day because that's how he's been brought up, to give without thinking. Because that is what I wanted my son to be. So everybody can bring out the best in everybody else, but they always say it takes a village. I think it takes a world. I believe it takes the world to change on its axis to make that change universal. On that note, Annie, don't say a word. Go on to the next one, quick. Muted, my friend.
We can't hear you, Annie. You're muted.
Zara is the one that we need to hear from. Zara, are you there?
Yeah,
Anyway,
Annie, I'm
let's do
here,
some of
but
the
I don't
comments.
know, like, if the connection is
Zara's
working and you
flashing. No, we're not
guys can hear
listening.
me.
We can hear you perfectly. I can hear you.
I said you're
So,
flashing, and
you
then I
guys can
stopped
hear me,
myself.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
And guys, जब से Annie has moved here to Restream, and everything is like messed up. I'll make sure, like, if I can come back. I love the StreamYard videos, but that was more static, like more thing. And that's why I'm not turning my camera. And I salute you. Okay, you are a darling. You are an amazing lady. But one thing, stop advocating the West life. I'm telling you, I love you, Paulette. I love everybody here. But always you advocating for the West. Yeah, we are also humans. We know each other for quite some time here. Okay, and now let's get back to the point. And we are visiting societies. Paulette, my darling, we visit every day, which is living here in this side of the world, Asia. 60. Now, if I'm going to start talking, if I'm not breaking, right? I'm sure I'm not breaking, because I want to make messages
Go ahead.
You're fine,
You're
darling.
not.
You're fine. Absolutely fine.
go as clear as it should be. Okay. Look, 68% of the population. Hey, Jay. 68% of the population in this part of the world, Asia. Now, what I see, I never grew up watching those advertisements which we see nowadays. I was watching one of the advertisements where somebody has to take out, where two gentlemen were like sitting. It was a West. And they went to some coffee shop, and the lady, the gentleman, she took out the sugar from her bra, okay, to add the sugar. Then they asked for something else. She again took something out from the bra thing, and then they said, no. Now, the point here is messages generation. We never grew up like that. We actually, there was a balance. It is about dollar of alcoholic industry will be banned. Start speaking truth. All that fashion industry will be banned. Sure that if somebody, we try to keep everything in balance here in this part of the world. What we see is not actually that, but they will tell you like how much somebody wants to go for they're allowed to go for a job. They are allowed to think they want to do in their life. But what are those messages which we are actually giving to our children? That does matter. How our world right now, the current situations, and how being only targeted. The Middle East, you see the Iran and Israel, the US part, that let's have that broader paradigm or thought that we can actually
I've lost you, Zara.
We lost Zara's sound.
Yeah.
Let's go to Jay, because Christina and I, we're in a hurry. I'm watching the time. We've got 12 minutes till our show starts. So, Jay, can I take 12 minutes is a long time, right? So, but no.
Split it between Cyrus, and we'll clear it up, right?
There's no cake for you, Jay. No. And I say all the men are asking in the comments, Paulette, cake? What cake? We get cake?
I make my own cake.
There's no cake. I know you bake cakes too, Christina.
Lots of cakes.
Go on, Jay.
Yeah. Well, I make cake too. Anyway, here's the thing. There's a dichotomy in what's happening in society today. You know, there's the need and the call for men to have cognitive abilities related to emotions and empathy and just love, right? And so society has moved men towards that. And we've all kind of acquiesced, right? A majority of us have. Now, I live in the South in the United States, And chivalry is still a thing here. Now, I've been to other states in the North where if I opened up a door for somebody, I would be cussed. Like especially if they're a woman, right? And so we're confused sometimes. and I think what has to be said though is it's okay, right? For some of us, they don't realize it's okay to have masculine traits. You know, we want to be able to protect our families, like CJ said. We want to be the ones to go out and do things that are tough and hard and, you know, toiling in dirt and stuff like that. These are the things that for millennia men have been called to do. But and I just recall a conversation I had when my son was just maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I said, you know what? It's okay to cry, right? It's okay to cry. And being a man, that's not a bad thing. Being a boy, it's not a bad thing. You can cry to me anytime, right? I'm your dad. And I could say this to all my children, even the girls. But sometimes you need to be a little tough. Now, I'm going to give you a little story and then I'll jump off. But here's the thing. I come from an age where my grandparents survived World War II. And they all had to be tough. And the men even more so. My grandparents lived through concentration camps on Guam. And it was a tough time. And so we hear this, right? It was all about survival. And so toughness, strength, even the women had masculine traits, right? To be able to survive an ordeal, 3 years of captivity on their own island. So we come from that, but we also come from a Spanish culture where, you know, there's that machismo. And we grew up tough. My contemporaries, my peers, my friends, my cousins, we all grew up as young men having to be tough, right? Coming from that type of culture and that type of historical trauma. But learning to be tender, loving, empathetic. We're in that kind of middle ground. But we see our kids, and some of them, especially boys, they're emotionally ready for the world, but they cry if they have to change a tire, or if they have to stay late at work, or if they, and these are things that we're saying, man, if it was during our time, we would have just been told to suck it up, buttercup. So there's a trade-off. And I think that it's okay to have that acuity for emotions. But we, and men, women, it's okay to have masculine traits. And if it's used for bad, then it becomes something else. But to say in general, men come with masculine toxicity, I think that's a wrong label. And I think that we can all learn to have a balance. At the end of all of what I've just said, I think that there's a balance of what we can do as men, even as women, and those who are non-binary and otherwise. masculinity doesn't mean it's toxic. It's a trait. And it's a trait that we can use just like anything else for good or for bad.
I love that. That's exactly where I was hoping you'd go, and it's perfect. Perfect.
Thank you.
Annie, are you there? Have you left us already?
Always here, Paulette. I don't know where you think
Hey,
I've fallen off to.
quick. Can we
Right.
check it to Cyrus and we can be off, because I know you've got your next show.
I don't think Sarah's going to speak with my because it's still muted, right? Jay, I agree with. Of course, I agree with you. Look,
I can speak. If you can hear me, I can speak.
Look, Cyrus, you're
Hiya.
there. Okay, go on,
Oh, hi,
Cyrus.
everybody.
Do it quick. Quick.
Yeah, I tried earlier, but sorry. So, thank you so much, everybody, for sharing, and the magnificent Jay, fantastic Christina, amazing Paul, and CJ. I didn't hear you talk. I'm sorry. Zara, I heard you, and your elevated heartbeat. Annie, I hope you're well. Regarding is it the question is a really I mean it's a question that shouldn't exist. Is it enough to be a man? Well, being a man is a state of being. Since when state of being has become measurable, something to be like measurable? Like, is it what's next? Is it enough to be gravity? Gravity is just gravity. It's a state of being, right? So so it is not. So it's the things that are to do with doing. Those are that should be measured. So as a man, what are the things you're doing? Those should be measured. How many poor people have you helped? If you're holding a door for a woman, if a woman holds a door for a man, how many doors have you held? Okay, is it enough to be a man? Well, being a man is just being a man. Same as being a woman. Being a woman is being a woman. These are the things that the elites of the society have put in place for keeping both genders bickering. Because when bickering happens, always remember, when there's a fight, somebody's making money, right? Where there's a war, somebody is making money. If as a male, I am having a fight with the different gender women, and no, we're not the same. We are equal, but not the same. But just to respond to or to supplement what Tabilova said. So we're not similar, like we're not identical, but we are equals. Yes, of course we are. Okay, we all have the same rights, and in this day and age, a woman has the same rights as women and men have all the same rights. Whether they are enjoying them or not, that's a different matter. So and when we wipe out those lines that pre-existed in the society, like Tabilova was saying, "Oh, I'm a man. My function is to provide for the family." Well, those are the expired. At least I hope it's allowed to say West. At least in the Western part of the world, those are some of the norms and conventions that are accepted. So, and the things that we are sharing here, we're not necessarily promoting them, and so these are universalities that we're talking about. So whether they are accepted or not, well, it's a free world, and what we're sharing here could be accepted, could be rejected. That's the whole purpose of a discourse, right? We're talking to add to each other and learn from each other. So if all we're talking about is lopsided, what we're going to get? Something lopsided. It's not going to be balanced. So all sorts of voices should be heard. So the point I was trying to make is, as a man or as a woman, how much of a compliant person are you? That's the question. So there are always isms that we are following without finding out, without ever knowing why. Lots of isms, such as patriarchy, such as feminism, etc., etc. All of these isms, and almost always there's more damage in isms than there is benefits. Okay, generally speaking, in the grand scheme of things, isms are there to establish a pre-established notion, right, and make sure compliance happens. So because we are all compliant at some time or other, right? So just to give you an example, if I say I am a man and therefore I am dominant, that is an ism. Okay, so is it right? Is it wrong? Well, I would say it's not right. There are people who would say it's right. So because some people say where there's power to back it up, yes, then that makes you right. On paper, no, it's wrong. We know that, but in reality, might is right. Look at the most recent wars in the world, especially the ones that are sustained. Okay, so somebody's making money out of them by keeping the war going, right? Because somebody's job is to sell weapons to weaker countries, right? So compliance. It's all about compliance. It's not so. Whenever there's an ism, the outcome, the desired outcome, for air quotes, some people, is compliance and making money out of it. So please always remember, whenever you are presented with an ism, just find out who's making money out of it and who's benefiting. And then you will find out, historically speaking, at some point it didn't exist, and some industry decided to put it in place and make money out. Thank you.
Thanks, Cyrus. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up quite quickly because Ennie's next show is about to start. And everyone, please follow over to Christiana and Ennie's show. But Zara, to come back to you, having stuff coming out of women's bras is never acceptable in my view, because that is just makes it sort of soft porn and not right. And that doesn't give the right view to men. It doesn't give the right impression of women to guys, and it doesn't give the right impression of women to women. So for me, that would be, discredited, full stop. But, I think going right the way back to Tobaloba, if we saw everybody as a school and everybody as a learning and a place to meet someone at, and then we learn from them, we grow together or we grow apart, either way, but you learn from each other what you can learn from each other, whether that's male, female, male, whatever the combination. We all can learn, whether we're in the Western world or whether we're in the summer, wherever we are in the world. We're all living in a different world to the world we were in 70 years ago. So where will we be in 70 years' time? So just go away from this conversation, keep your mind open, and we'll be back in 2 weeks where we're going to look at it from the female perspective, where I'm sure there'll be a lot of cake discussions. But nonetheless, we will have the conversation, because equal and balanced is who I am. So we need to let you go, Annie. Thank you so much for staying. Thank you to Christiana for her comments. Thank you to everybody for coming up and talking. It's been really engaging. I think it's been quite triggering for some people. It was never intended to be that way. But it's right, because we're trying to change. When you're trying to change how you are perceived, right? It's hard. It's really hard. We don't want our young men to be frightened of women. And we don't want our women to appear to be vile and vicious. There's got to be a combination somewhere where we can be in the same balanced perspective. So let's have the conversation in 2 weeks' time. But in the meantime, head over to Ennie's next show, which is with Christiana and
Christina
Segato. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Christina Segato, who said, actually, I remind her of Hermione, I think, Granger, my voice apparently, which is meant as a compliment. So thank her for that. Right. Go.
Thank you, everyone. Here's the reality. Everyone here who's got a son knows we've got a problem. There's a problem. Our sons are shit scared of the world and of themselves. And guess what? The flip side is, Paulette just said it. our daughters are petrified too. We're doing exactly the same thing to them. Young women today, they are nervous wrecks, full of anxiety. Why is that? That's what we're going to talk about next week. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
The week after, guys, the next mental wellness.
Yes.
All right. Take
So
care.
the link to
Thank
join
you.
is in the comments.
Thank you,
to
guys.
join us. Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
How do I find my last graphic?
Hugs and kisses.
To you too, my love. You too.
You're gonna try and get me sued, I swear.
Not to you, Annie, to my Paulette.
I'm having the hugs and kisses.
She retrained her heart to heal the young, turned her passion into purpose, work begun. Co-author of a movement, not-for-profits gain, teaching kids that self-belief can ease the pain. Every child deserves to face their fears with measured thinking, not just